Hello.
Hi Ed, how's it going?
Good.
I want to ask you something. Do you like this kind of thing?
I do, but I don't think it really likes me. I don't feel that great after I eat it.
What happens?
I just feel sort of bogged down, slow, sluggish. Doesn't make me feel great.
Okay, all right. So let's investigate a couple of things. What about, say, something like this? So these are different bagels. This is a raisin bagel and a. How do you feel when you eat something like that?
You know, I don't eat anything like that anymore. It just does. I don't feel good when I eat it.
Okay. Do you know why?
Well, anything with wheat and flour is a problem.
Do you know
I don't
why?
know. I don't feel that great from it. So
All right.
I don't. Why?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Well, what's in here that doesn't make you feel well? That's the question.
I think it's the flour or the wheat or something like that.
So there is flour in these products, right? And so here is organic all-purpose flour.
Right.
Right? Now, how do they make this? Or what is this? I mean, when you look inside, do you see a liquid or a solid in there? What is that in there?
Well, that's sort of like a solid, but it's a powder.
Powder. It's a powder, exactly. So how do they make this powder? So the question is, how do they do that? And so I just want to go over a couple of things about grains. So here's a grain that you're probably familiar with. Okay, I'm just going to put a little bit there. Okay, and so that is basmati rice. Okay, I'm going to put another one on here. It's the same basmati rice, but there's going to be a difference here. And let's see what the difference is. So there are two different colors there. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. So what's the difference? This one is what?
This one's brown and the other was white.
Right. But it's actually the same grain. It just happens to be one is white and one is brown. Okay? And the difference is that this one has what's called the germ on it. It's the outside covering of the grain. This one, it's been removed. It's been removed. So what they do when they make flour, so over here they've got this wheat flour, okay, is they take the grain and they pulverize it in a pot and they make a powder. So here you have white rice flour, here you have brown rice flour, and here you have wheat flour. But this is white because they've removed the outside. So when you go to the store and you get whole wheat flour, it's made from the grain with the germ still on it. You see that? So that's why and it actually looks a different color. It's not white, it's more on the brownish side. So I don't know. So these are rice flours made from this grain. I don't have any wheat grain here, but this is wheat grain. Now, when we digest our food, we need to break down the proteins and the carbohydrates to their very basic level. And in the case of proteins, we break proteins down into amino acids. The cells in our body cannot use proteins. They only use amino acids. And only certain amino acids. So there's essential amino acids that we can only get from food. Now, all proteins are made up of combinations of different amino acids. Follow that? The problem with wheat is that there's a protein in there called gliadin. And gliadin has to be broken down into its primary amino acids, but for most people, we don't have the enzyme capacity to break it down. And as a result, when we can't break down the protein that's in this grain, we have what's called a immune reaction. It treats the protein in this flour from the wheat as though you have a virus. Okay?
Yeah.
And you get an immune reaction, which means that you get inflammation and you get a recruitment of white blood cells that are supposed to gobble up the invader, and sometimes it causes gas and bloating. Okay? That protein that we call gliadin is commonly referred to in our culture as gluten. That's what gluten is. It's that protein that comes from the grains. Now, I want to make sure that you understand that this is rice grain here. Okay? Rice grain does not contain the same protein as wheat. The only reason I have this out is because I want to show you that you can make flours from many kinds of grains. The one that we have the most problem with is the grain wheat and the flour from wheat. Okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah.
So when the baker makes things like this, like bagels or angel food cake, they make it from this flour. Now, my wife Nancy makes for us a gluten-free banana bread, which is really fantastic. Okay? You've had a little bit of this, haven't you?
It's awesome.
And
Good
has
stuff.
this made your stomach feel the same way
No.
as these two things?
No, absolutely not.
So the likelihood is that you have a sensitivity to wheat.
Yeah.
Okay? You've never been tested for it, but you've done your own test and know that if you have a baked good that comes from these kinds of flours, rice, because this, when she makes this from brown and white rice, okay? She combines the flours and makes this great banana bread from this grain. There is none of this flour in there.
Yep.
And so that's why you don't feel the same reaction, okay?
Yep. Yep.
And so the idea is when you have irritable bowel, for example, that what you need to do is shift your diet away from stuff that contains gluten or this gliadin protein. So there are several grains, again we're back to the word grain, that contain that protein. Rice, white rice, brown rice, do not contain gliadin or gluten. There is wheat, there's rye grain, and barley grain. Now rye you'll find in, for example, rye bread. That's why it's called rye bread. They use that grain as a flour. Now, you will also find that breweries that make beer or ale, some of my favorite ales from Ireland, they all contain barley. Okay? That barley contains the same protein as wheat. So if you don't have the capacity to break down the wheat protein, gliadin, you won't have the same capacity to break down the barley either. Okay? And so the idea, again, with irritable bowel is to separate from your diet the things that create inflammation and have the things that don't create the inflammation. Okay? And we include a lot of this information in what we call the rugby diet. A elimination diet, low protein diet, a high alkaline diet, and a diet that supports and helps your body make the right types of bacteria that are very important for digestive function.
We good?
I think we're done for today.
Okay.
Good.
All right. See you soon.
Thanks for joining me in the kitchen.
Okay.